Today we're going to learn the 10th road of Kuo Lien Ying's Tai Chi. It's a dynamic form with a high crane stance into a low falling stance and then a scissors kick. So we'll take it from the beginning. It takes 2 sections to complete one side, so we'll take one section at a time. The road goes back this way, so I'm going to start with my back towards you, and then I'll show different angles. Starting from the bow stance. From here, you're going to sweep back, step into the crane stance, drop down into a falling stance, with a chop coming down, back into the forward bow stance, beak hand on the back, and strike. Again, you take that from the beginning. Starting from the bow and arrow, sweep back your leg, drop down into falling stance, come up in the bow stance, strike, come back. So that's the first section of the right side. So from this angle, from the bow and arrow stance, I'm going to sweep back, drop falling stance, come up into the bow stance, and strike. Okay, and then I'm going to do it this way so you can see all the angles. I'm going to describe the movements. From the bow and arrow stance, as you sweep back, the beak hand comes back here, and the knee comes up in the crane stance. So from here, this hand is going to sweep the knee into open, and then goes high, and then chop. So again, from the bow and arrow stance, all one motion, back, chop. Come forward, make sure your shoulders are square, and strike forward with a vertical palm. So that's one section. And one more time. From the bow and arrow stance. Sweep back, high, drop down low. Forward into the bow stance, strike. From this direction, from the opening to the bow and arrow stance, sweep back, drop down low, forward, vertical palm strike. Gonna do it this way. From the bow and arrow stance, come back vertical, drop down, bow stance, vertical palm strike. So we move on to section 2. We'll perform section 1 and then continue into the section 2. Again, from the bow and arrow stance, sweep back, overhead chop down in the falling stance, square forward, vertical strike. From here, come back with a hand. Now you're going to do the scissors kick. Step forward in the bow stance and strike. So you'll notice I'm ending up in the same position in section 2 as when I started section 2, and this will be one complete side of 10th road of Kuo Lien Ying's Tai Chi. Okay, one more time. I'll do both of them together. From the bow and arrow stance, sweep back, drop down, falling stance, vertical palm strike, come back. Wait till you come back here to use the momentum for the kick. Step forward in the bow stance, strike. One more time. back, drop down, come up, kick. Step forward in a bow stance, strike. So that's one full section and 1 and 2 sections for one side. And from here to repeat on the other side, you're going to just start to sweep from this side and then continue. So we take it one step at a time. So now I'll do 2 sections together so you can see what the flow looks like. From the bow and arrow stance, sweep back, drop down, strike, scissors kick, strike. In performing the scissor kick from that bow stance, for me, it helps if when I'm retracting my arm, to kind of time the first kick with that to kind of get the momentum to do the scissor kick. Again, when you're doing the scissor kick, when your foot comes up, you want to have some float as much as possible before you begin the second kick. If you begin the second kick too soon, your kicking leg will actually come down to counterbalance, and here's what's going to happen. It'll kind of cut the kick short, so you need to wait till that first kick is kind of extended, so you can come with a full scissors kick. So we'll take it again from the beginning, and then we'll concentrate on the second section. Will be the same, just on the opposite side. So the first side, 2 sections. Again, you can start from the crane stance into the bow and arrow, or you can start just from the bow and arrow stance. Sweep back, drop down into falling stance. Come up into bow stance, strike, kick. Here. So now I've completed one side. You're going to start from the other side. You can see it from this side. You're going to come back, sweep the knee, overhead, backhand, strike. So a couple of things to point out from the bow and arrow stance. When you're sweeping back the knee, like warding off, clearing, this hand will end up with palm up. And this is a backhand here. So from here, palm up, backhand. As you come over, this is like a chopping motion, and this is a chopping motion. This hand will turn into the backhand, and this hand will turn into the vertical strike. They kind of change positions. Okay, again from the beginning. Come back, drop down, come up, strike, scissors kick, strike. So now we're on beginning of the next side. We're gonna come back, sweep overhead, come up, bow stance, strike forward. Here, when you do the scissors kick on this side, and then step forward in the bow stance, so you're at the beginning again. Then you do this side again. It's an energetic form, and the fact that it comes at the end of the 9 lines, if you're doing continuous 10-line form, you feel it, you feel the wind. So, one more time. Bow and arrow stance, sweep back, falling stance, bow stance, strike, scissors kick. Okay? Because of the space, you gotta step back. You need one of those rotating ones. Step back, foot down, bow stance, scissors kick. So when you want to end, if you're on this side, just step together, vertical windmill, come up, bow and arrow, and the finish of your tan tui. So this lesson will complete the series of Kuo Lien Ying's 10-road tan tui. If you've been following along and practicing, we're kind of stretching out to about a month in between lessons, so you have time to practice. And even though you're finishing the first form, it's only the beginning of the journey. So I would advise you to go and look up the video on supplemental alternative exercises, because they kind of expand the range of your understanding of motion and movement to the dalu of the fixed form tan tui. And the next lesson for the Shaolin will either go into the Chatuan, or we will go into more free form, combining the 10 various lines into a mixture of patterns. It's something that Guo didn't teach, but I experiment with my own, and I like the freedom to interchange between the various tan tui lines, because the tan tui lines and the dalu are just kind of the beginning points for you to experiment with the movements and understanding of applications. So thank you.